Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for coming this evening. And we're starting the evening with this young 5-year-old horse that belongs to Roger Mattia, and he's ridden by Suzanne Davis. And we're going to start with a 5-year-old, and then I will ride the 6-year-old and a 7-year-old, and then we've got 2 advanced horses after the break, which I will demonstrate music with. This horse is not only the best horse in England for his age at the moment, he's nearly one of the best horses in Europe, having finished 4th in Germany in the big Bundeschampionat, which is for young horses. Last year he was the champion 4-year-old, winning the WWP at Stoneleigh at the National Championships with Suzanne. And for those people that are interested in breeding, his grandsire is Donahall, and his father is Don Primero, and he is a licensed stallion as well, and I think it's very exciting for Britain to have a horse like this as a prospect to breed with. I haven't made a program for this evening because I can't really remember very much if I'd written it this morning, and I might stutter a bit because I was a little bit nervous about doing it, but somebody gave me a very good tip last week and said, if you feel nervous, just look at everybody and imagine them on the toilet, and you'll feel differently about it. So if you think I'm looking at you a bit strange, you know why. So we'll start just, really this horse is, we're going to show basic paces. So you can see the horse walking, a free walk, and again, thankfully, this horse demonstrates a very big walk, which in dressage is very important. What you're looking for is the overtrack and the freedom in the horse's shoulder. And you can see this horse, he almost has a sort of walk like a thoroughbred horse would have. When you watch them going around the paddock, his hind legs swing well underneath him, and his shoulders really reach for his stride. And it's something that is very difficult when you're training a dressage horse to be able to keep this sort of walk all the way up to Grand Prix. And in fact, we know this horse is good at collection, but sometimes when you go to buy a dressage horse, usually if you have a horse with a very large walk, it's quite difficult to collect without losing the quality of the pace. But this horse, it would be difficult to do that with because his walk is pure. And the thing is, with a walk, is really at this age, is to leave it, when it's this big until he's stronger, to leave it fairly well alone. So if we just move on to a working trot, please, Suzanne, rising. That's it. You might gasp now, but when you see it do an extended trot, you'll cry. As you can see, amazingly active horse. He's a little bit tense at the moment, so you can see the most important thing about training a young horse is to start with regularity. You have to have regular working paces. Until a horse can do a working pace, it's very difficult to work on collection or extension. You just have to make a very good working pace with a lovely outline. You can see here he's not quite sure whether he's going to show you his passage or his trot. One leg says he'll do the other. You can see here, again, this is something to do with relaxation. So you wouldn't expect a horse at the moment of this age, and he is a stallion, so he obviously has a lot about him. It'll take him a few minutes just to really relax and let go. And you can see Suzanne riding him with his neck quite round. Now, this is something in dressage that is discussed about a lot. Where should you work a horse's head and neck? And we particularly like nowadays to have the horses rounder than on the bit. When you all go and watch a dressage test, you expect to see the horse with his pole as the highest point, but in training you don't expect to see that all the time, because if you always keep a horse's head in the same place, then he's going to become stiff. So bit by bit, as the horse starts to relax, you want to let the head and neck go towards the floor so that his back starts to relax behind the saddle. So you can see here, if you were judging this at the moment in a dressage test, you would probably say, oh, it's too low, it's too overbent, it's too deep. And of course, for a dressage test it is, but that isn't what's important in the training. So it's something that I expect you'll see a lot of tonight, is what you see in training is not necessarily what you'll see as the finished product. And this horse obviously has potential to go all the way and hopefully, for Suzanne's sake, be a very exciting horse for Britain one day in Grand Prix. So that is what we're aiming for, and every horse, certainly that we ride, has that aim in mind, that it will be a Grand Prix horse. We don't train it just to do a novice test. So also, what I'd quite like to point out is something that I find quite interesting. When people have young horses, 4- or 5-year-olds, you see them, they very often they start entering their tests, prelim tests, novice tests, when the horses are 4 or 5, and they go to a show, and obviously because the horse is young, maybe misbehaves, or is not easy to turn if you've got a great huge horse in a small arena, and they come out of their test and they're very disappointed, and they say, oh, damn horse, I'll just sell it, it's not this, it's not that. And it's easy to get disappointed, so what we like to do with our young horses is put them on the lorry and just take them to a show and ride them around at shows and then put them on the lorry and go home. And that way you're always finished up with a relaxed, happy picture, and the horse gets a good experience from it rather than doing endless competitions. And you can see now we move on to the canter, and the same thing. What's so lovely about this horse is he's so light-footed. You can hardly hear him as he moves. And again, what you're looking for in the canter is the hind leg. You can see how far his hind leg steps forward. Even ridden, if you ride him again a little bit more stretched in the neck, Suzanne, you can still see how, there you see now already, he starts to relax. His back is soft. That's it. And you can see when Suzanne rides him like this, she really has not very much contact on the rein. And so she is letting the horse soften his mouth, become light in the hand. That's good. And the horse is learning to balance. And when people ask you, or they say, what is dressage? It's the easiest way to explain it is it's getting a horse on its own legs, which means basically self-carriage. You put the horse in balance and you leave it there. And when the horse is in balance, then you can do anything with it. If we could just have a look at the trot again and just change the rein, please, Suzanne. And you can see wherever he goes, whether he's across the diagonal, straight lines, he's in the same balance, soft, and then just stretch the neck again. And there will be days at home when we ride the horses where they are just ridden in this sort of outline. They're not ridden up to the bit, they're just ridden like this. Because as you can imagine, a horse that moves as good as this one does, or if you have a horse with big movement, if you continually ride it and train it every day in big movements, it's not going to be very easy to keep the horse sound. Because I don't know if ever you've seen a picture of a horse piaffing, for instance, or passaging, how low his joints get to the ground and how much strain that puts on them. So if you train a horse like this all the time, then you're going to run into problems later. So you can see it's now getting a little bit flatter, the trot, a little bit softer, but that doesn't matter. That's important that he can work as a horse like this, and then at the same time when we bring him up to the bit, he can work like a world champion. That's good. That's lovely. It's a very good demonstration of how a young horse should be ridden. Let's give him a walk a minute, and then we'll walk him and trot him up to the bridle.